So I recently came across this article about the Trump administration, as well as others in Congress, considering reparations for the January 6th rioters. Now, y'all, I had to do my diligence and actually research this. But it is actually true. They are considering reparations. The same people who say there's never any money for black freedmen, or, the same people who get an attitude when we mention anything or any type of justice for us. So take a listen to this video and we'll talk.
I let them out with pardons. I know you were very happy. I watch your show all the time. You were extremely happy about it. And plenty of other people were too. People don't realize this whole movement that we have is just it's a very inspiring thing, what's happened to our country. These people are incredible people. They were treated so unfairly, so horribly. Some of them didn't even go into the building. And the judges, the system, the hatred, the vitriol, the prosecutors, the way they wanted to destroy these people would go in and they'd be so proud to go before court, and they'd have a good lawyer, and they'd walk out of court like devastated the way they were treated, devastated, given years in prison. No, but I took care of them. I said I was going to, and I did.
Is there any talk of, because they lost opportunity, they lost income, any kind of compensation fund?
Well, there's talk about that. We have a lot of people talk about it. A lot of the people that are in government now talk about it because a lot of the people in government really like that group of people. They were patriots as far as I was concerned.
Okay, so y'all heard that? Oh, your boy is thinking of pretty much reparations for the January 6th rioters, or shall I say those who turned against their own country, but I'm gonna leave that be. Anyway, you guys, this article is definitely pretty interesting. It's an older one, but I wanted to bring it up because it's funny that there's never anything or any money for black American freedmen or FBA, or always somebody talking negative about, us deserving reparations. But hey, they can find the money, or they cool with giving it to everybody else. So anyway, this article is from the New York Post, and it's titled "Trump Weighs Financial Compensation for January 6 Rioters." He also vows to look into the Ashley Babbitt's death. Now, Trump is considering financial compensation for pardoned defendants prosecuted in connection with the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot. It is a riot. I don't care how much they try to downplay it. It's a riot. Now, he also promised that he would look into the death of Ashley Babbitt, who was shot by Capitol Police in the chaos of that day. Now, the president told reporters there has been talk about paying the hundreds of his supporters who were charged with storming the Capitol in an attempt to overturn the 2020 election results. Now, a lot of the people that are in government now talk about it because a lot of the people in government really like that group of people. And that is exactly what he said in the clip before. He said he took care of them as well, which truth is he did. When he came in, of course, he did pardon a good bit of them. And to be real, y'all, these people did not even get in that much trouble anyway. Let's be clear. Please, they all deserve jail time. Did you see the photos and the stuff they were pulling in D.C. when they couldn't have their way? Oh, yeah, they act a fool when they can't have their way. Rioting is in their DNA. Okay? Now, on January 20th, hours after being sworn in, Trump pardoned more than 1,500 defendants charged or convicted on counts related to the riot, including many who were already behind bars serving multi-year sentences. Y'all, these people got a slap on the wrist. And many were already criminals anyway and committing criminal activity afterward. Now, many of the rioters and their supporters, including Trump's new top federal prosecutor in Washington, Ed Martin, have called for those charged or convicted in the riot to be given reparations. Trump also said he would look into the death of Ashley Babbitt, a 36-year-old Air Force veteran who was shot by U.S. Capitol Police Lieutenant Michael Byrd as she tried to crawl through a broken window to enter the speaker's lobby. Y'all, I'm confused, okay? Because I thought that's a crime, okay? I was thinking it was a crime. But as I looked in all the comments, I remember back then them saying she was unarmed. Y'all, black people are shot shall I say, unarmed all the time. And it's a totally different response. That's just their racism showing. Anyway, Babbitt's family has filed a $30 million wrongful suit against the government. Trump said he has not heard of the lawsuit until Tuesday's interview, but he said he would look into that, calling himself a big fan of Babbitt. Somebody who broke the doggone law. Somebody who tried to overthrow the government. Trump is quoted as saying Ashley Babbitt was a really good person who was a big MAGA fan, Trump fan, and she was innocently standing there. But they just said she was trying to get through a window. So which one is it? Some say she was even trying to hold back the crowd. And a man did something to her that was unthinkable when he shot her, the president said. Lord, the delusion. When Trump asked if he would consider taking any action against Byrd, a federal employee, the president said he was going to look into that too and raise questions about the officer's reputation before moving on. Earlier this month, the Trump Justice Department signaled it would support settlement talks with Babbitt's family. Now, y'all, I'm confused. He's talking about the officer reputation. What about the reputation of many of these people? If you look up a lot of these people, they got into trouble even after the riot. All right, so let's just put everything all together here, because I'm trying to keep it together, y'all. You know, I'm trying. I give both parties a smoke, but this is unbelievable. Now, first of all, outside of any type of compensation or reparations, they didn't even deserve the pardon. Okay, people died at this event. I'm not sure what event they're talking about, but the event that I watched and researched, people died. I saw people breaking into offices. I read about stolen laptops. I see where they're urinated on the floor. I see where they threatened to pretty much hang people. I see them beating up cops. I see all of this. Now, I'm confused at what event they're talking about. You see, they're only for Blue Lives Matter when it's convenient. If these people deserve anything, they need prison time. And I mean the prison time they would have given black freedmen if it were us. Some of them were charged, but y'all, they got these light sentences or slaps on the wrist. And to be honest with you, they acted like they couldn't find a good bit of them after it happened. They know everything else. But they needed help finding some of these people. They didn't need help. They just didn't want to arrest a lot of them. And the only reason why a lot of them were arrested is just so they can say they did something. Let's be realistic here. We all know if these were black freedmen, they would have still been in jail or prison time and definitely would have gotten worse sentences. They wouldn't have been concerned about the money they spent on lawyers and, reparating them. Y'all, I remember one dude who acted a plumb fool. A plumb fool got arrested. Y'all, he went to jail and they literally tried to change the type of food they gave him in jail because it wasn't what he was used to. That's privilege by itself. If you didn't want to eat the food in jail, then you shouldn't have went to jail or did the things that would have made you go to jail. Oh, yes, let's talk about them the way they would have talked about us. Now, you see all the excuses that they made for this type of behavior? Y'all, these people really tried to overthrow the government. Now, this may be a little controversial, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. It can be blocked out if it can't be said, but it's the truth here. These people are the descendants of those who act a fool when they can't have their way. They're okay as long as they're getting what they want. History will show that to you. Y'all, for example, look at the Civil War. They literally had a civil war because they couldn't have their way. They love rioting and acting a plumb fool when they can't have their way. It's in their DNA. They love talking about black on black crime, but history shows they got crime against us and crime against each other. The war on the Alamo, that they look alike. I don't recall that being about them fighting against us. You had the Civil War. You had the American Revolutionary War. You had the Boston Tea Party. They act a fool when they can't have their way. If you're going to talk about black on black crime, which really doesn't exist, then talk about that. Now, one thing I will give Trump, even though, I'm not a fan of this reparations for them, because they're against it for us. And I personally don't think they deserve reparations for this. This is just privileged behavior. But one thing I will say about Trump, he caters to his base. Even if people don't like it, he caters to the people who vote for him the most. Yeah, I said it. Democrats, take notes. You're in shambles now because you didn't cater to your base, the black people. They're tired of the broken promises. They're tired of the HR 40 reparations lies that y'all giving. It's always some foolishness about a study. Even when Barack Obama, y'all might think I'm lying. I learned so much with voting for him, and I voted for him. I'm just going to be frank with you. I did, and I regret it. He was so afraid of doing things to upset them folks. And let's be clear, them folks always upset when things don't go their way. Trump, on the other hand, I don't like him all the time. I don't like everything he does. But listen, Trump don't give a damn whether you like it or not. If he wants to do something, he is going to do it. So if you're going to come for me in the comments, that's perfectly fine. That's not a lie. That is the truth. Democrats are in shambles because they pretty much sabotage themselves. You got to take care of home. Now, Trump out here talking about reparations because, his voter base or people who love him to death, they had to pay legal fees and lawyer fees and stuff. They should have, because they broke the doggone law. They should have been paying. But look, you see, he's setting up something to help his people. Democrats would have never. And with that being said, King Malcolm X was correct. They are all the same. They all cater to white supremacy when it's best suited for them. Malcolm X been telling us, and we just haven't been listening. And so has Brother Dr. Claude and many other people. We just haven't been listening. King Malcolm X told us, and we still refuse to listen to what some of them are saying. Now, I'm still a big fan of getting, what we can out of Trump. But I really don't expect much, as I would be honest with you. And I've said this countless of times before. Now, I don't care what nobody say. This is technically reparations. Of course, he's labeling it as, possibly creating a fund for them to help them, a legal fund. But this is reparations. Let's be realistic. They're doing it amongst their own. Now, y'all, I remember when there was something called the Fearless Funds. This was created to help some black women, get funding to get their businesses to pop off or help each other, pretty much pull themselves up by, the bootstraps. That's what they tell us to do. Y'all, please look it up. It was a white lawyer, I would say a suspected white supremacist, who literally sued these women who were pretty much creating the fund to help, themselves, because he said it was discrimination. And get this, the weird part, he used the civil rights laws of the 1960s that our people fought for to prove discrimination. Ain't that a blimp? I mean, really. Now, I want to keep in mind that this could be something, of course, that, could be used just to piss black freedmen off, or a way, to get us to really, blame Trump for everything. A lot of these people are suffering because of him, but he also caters to his base too. So it's a combination of both. So, let's try to keep in mind this is something that could be done to get us riled up. And I'm riled up about the reparations consideration, but guess what? I ain't that riled up to take my behind in these streets. See, I can talk about it, but I ain't going out there. No. And you know why? Because I don't remember anything in the news lately about any of them being arrested or, tear gas being used on them and all this stuff. No. Y'all voted for him, okay? So you're going to deal with it. You're going to deal with everything the same way black freedmen have always had to deal with things not going their way. Okay? So they can keep doing these sad marches themselves. They could mention reparations for other groups. But all it does is show us exactly what we're dealing with. And many people, y'all, are waking up. Now, we never needed them. Never. Okay? And some people may say, hey, we don't need reparations. And that's fine. That's their opinion. And they're right. We deserve reparations. Generational wealth has been stolen. And that's just talking with slavery. We're not talking about all the land, the towns these people have burned down, and all the things that they have done to us. And the minute we talk about getting, some type of justice or reparations for the things that they've done to our ancestors, a lot of times, y'all, our grandparents. Okay? Let's be realistic. It's a problem. Nobody's alive. Y'all, they said all that. And then the people in Tulsa, they're in their hundreds. I think it's 2 left. They're not giving them anything. Took them through the ringer and decided not to give them anything. But remember, nobody's alive from then. We need to move forward. Well, I'm going to give the same energy for 2020. Okay, but worse because I'm petty. Okay, I just try to be professional in these videos a little bit more. They don't deserve nothing. They broke the law. Half of them broke the law after they got out, and they still should be sitting in jail. They deserve to pay the legal fees. Hey, they should have thought about that before they did it. They don't deserve anything. Anything. And you know what would be nice, y'all? If somebody was petty enough to sue them, to say, hey, this is discrimination, what they do to us, But anyway, we never needed them. Now, speaking of never needing anybody, check out just the 3 Black Wall Streets, we created on our own. And you guys, I said 3 because at that time, our ancestors only considered 3 places that were Black Wall Street. We had hundreds of Black business districts and downtowns. And there's a difference between a Black Wall Street and a Black business district, or what some would call a Black downtown. We had hundreds of those. Now, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this video. But guys, let me know in the comments if you think this is reparations for them. Do you think it's reparations, or do you think it's just the fund they're creating? Black American freedmen history, we should all know. Did you know that there were once 3 places that Black Americans considered to be Black Wall Street? Durham, North Carolina. Now, during the late 1800s and early 1900s, the Haiti neighborhood, once known as the capital of the Black middle class, was a thriving area of over 200 Black-owned businesses such as barbershops, drugstores, banks, doctors' offices, and more. Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, Greenwood is the most well-known. Black Americans there, excluded from other areas, carved out a space for themselves until white supremacists destroyed their Black progress in 1921. 600 Black businesses were destroyed, including grocery stores, hospitals, banks, schools, and even private airplanes. Jackson Ward, Richmond, Virginia. Jackson Ward was once known as the Black Harlem of the South. In the late 19th century, Jackson Ward was home to hundreds of Black-owned businesses, thriving pharmacies, insurance companies, medical and law offices, and more. This would all change when city officials created the Richmond-Petersburg Turnpike that displaced most of the Black homes and businesses there. There were hundreds of Black towns and business districts all over, but only 3 considered Black Wall Streets: Durham, North Carolina, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Jackson Ward, Richmond, Virginia.